Ashes of Earth. The sky burned red. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the Resolute, Earth's last surviving orbital defense cruiser, as the planet below writhed in firestorms. The Council's sterilization fleet hung in the void like carrion birds, their colossal ships unleashing beams that cracked continents and boiled seas. Cities vanished in moments. Oceans hissed into steam. The cradle of humanity was dying. Transmission from New York is gone. Captain, his comms officer whispered, her voice trembling. It's all gone. Elias couldn't answer. His hands clenched the railing, white-knuckled, as if holding tighter might hold Earth together. But there was no salvation. The Council had passed its judgment. Humanity had refused to kneel, refused to bend its will to alien rulers who called themselves guardians of order. And now, they had chosen extermination. On Mars and in the orbital colonies, survivors screamed over fractured channels. Some begged for orders, others for vengeance. None spoke of surrender. Humanity had seen too clearly. There was no mercy in the Council's decrees. The Resolute shuddered as another alien strike split the atmosphere, a burning lance piercing into Europe. Through the viewport, Elias saw the glow of Paris vanish beneath a wave of plasma fire. His home, his family, everything he'd sworn to protect was consumed. His chest felt hollow but not weak. Something colder, sharper, filled the void where grief should have drowned him. "They think this ends us," Elias said at last, voice low but steady. His bridge crew turned, clinging to his words as if they were lifelines. "But look at them. They destroyed Earth because they feared what we could become. They're right to fear us." The comms officer's eyes widened, tears streaking her face. "Sir, what are you saying?" "I'm saying Earth is dead, but humanity isn't." His gaze hardened, burning with the reflection of Earth's agony. "From this day forward, we are not survivors. We are hunters." A silence settled over the bridge, not the silence of despair, but of something being born. Rage, yes, but tempered, focused. Every officer, every soldier aboard that ship felt it. The Council had taken everything, and in doing so, they had forged a singular purpose. The Resolute and the few remaining human ships pulled back, slipping into the shadows of the outer system. The sterilization fleet did not chase them. Why would they? To the Council, humanity was finished. One world was ashes, one species extinguished. But Elias Kane knew better. Across Mars, Titan, and the deep space stations, scattered survivors whispered the same vow. Across military bunkers and ragged freighters, engineers and soldiers pieced together weapons from wreckage. Across the void, a fire spread. Humanity was not broken. It had been sharpened. And though Earth's ashes drifted into space, Elias made his oath before them. The Council will bleed for every life they burned. We will hunt them until their empire lies in ruins. The chapter of Earth was closed. But humanity's war had just begun. Humanity's hunt begins. The Resolute emerged from the shadow of a barren moon, its hull patched with scavenged metal, its weapons jury-rigged from Council wreckage. It no longer resembled the proud defense cruiser that had once orbited Earth. It was something leaner, hungrier, like the crew inside it. Captain Elias Kane studied the hollow map projected across the war table. Council supply lines stretched like veins across the sector, pulsing with the lifeblood of their empire. Food, fuel, weapons, slaves. To strike at the heart was suicide, but to bleed the edges? That was human warfare. "We hit them here," Elias said, pointing to a convoy route near the gas giant Carvos. "They'll never expect survivors to risk an ambush in Council-controlled space. But we won't just take the supplies. We take their ships, their tech, everything they think we're too primitive to use." His officers exchanged grim smiles. It wasn't just vengeance anymore. It was adaptation. Humanity had lost its homeworld, but it was learning to thrive in exile, bending alien tools to human hands. Hours later, the Resolute and 3 ragged escorts drifted among the rings of Carvos, engines cold, masked by the swirling ice and rock. The Council convoy slipped into view, freighters heavy with goods, guarded by a pair of sleek destroyers. "Hold," Elias whispered. His crew watched in silence as the alien ships glided closer, oblivious. The convoy moved like it owned the stars, because for millennia, it had. At Elias' signal, the trap sprang. Human railguns, powered by scavenged alien cores, tore through the first destroyer before it even raised shields. Explosions lit the ring debris, scattering glowing fragments like sparks from a forge. The second destroyer wheeled in shock, only to be swarmed by boarding pods. Elias led the assault personally. In the smoke-filled corridors of the enemy ship, he and his Marines fought like predators unleashed, using ferocity and unpredictability the Council had never trained for. Blades flashed, rifles cracked, and human war cries echoed in alien halls. Within minutes, the destroyer was theirs. By the time the battle ended, the freighters were captured, their alien crews cowering under human rifles. Elias stood on the bridge of the seized vessel, blood on his armor, staring at the Council insignia etched into the walls. "Send a message," he ordered. His voice carried across every hijacked comm channel. "To the Council, to their empire, to every world they think is chained. Earth is dead, but humanity hunts in its name. We are not finished. We are the predators in your shadows, and we will tear your empire apart." The broadcast rippled through the sector, sparking whispers on enslaved worlds. For the first time in ages, the Council's subjects heard not empty rebellion, but proof that the masters could bleed. Back aboard the Resolute, Elias looked at the captured cargo. Alien weapons, fuel reserves, even starship parts. Enough to keep the Hun alive. Enough to grow stronger. The Council had dismissed them as scattered survivors. But every raid, every stolen ship, every terrified broadcast spread the truth. Humanity was not running. Humanity was stalking. And the galaxy was beginning to notice. The fall of giants. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore humanity. What began as scattered raids had grown into a relentless campaign. Convoys vanished. Outposts went silent. Governors begged for reinforcements. The Council's broadcasts labeled the survivors of Earth as terrorists, but fear gnawed at their citizens. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire was bleeding. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the Resolute, now bristling with alien weaponry. Around him, the fleet of the Fallen, once a handful of scavenged ships, had swelled with stolen destroyers, defected slave crews, and rebel war bands who had heard humanity's call. The galaxy's cracks were widening, and humanity was driving the wedge deeper. "Council fleet incoming," his tactical officer reported. 3 carriers, 6 escorts. "They've taken the bait." Elias allowed himself a grim smile. They had broadcast false intelligence of a vulnerable human outpost in the ruins of an abandoned mining colony. Predictably, the Council had come in force. They expected an easy victory. Instead, they had walked into the teeth of predators. "Deploy the decoys," Elias ordered. Holographic signals projected phantom ships across the asteroid belt. The Council fleet split its formation to engage them, just as planned. From the shadows, hidden human strike teams ignited their engines, swarming the escorts with jury-rigged railguns and stolen plasma cannons. The void lit with fire. The first carrier buckled under a barrage of human missiles. Its hull cracked, spilling thousands of fighters into the void like insects set aflame. The Council responded with disciplined precision, but discipline crumbled against chaos. Humans thrived in it. On the command channel, Elias' voice cut through the battle. "Remember Earth. Make them choke on its ashes." His words became thunder across the fleet. Boarders stormed the second carrier, fighting hand-to-hand through the alien corridors. No tactic was too savage. Humans wielded knives when plasma rifles failed. They ripped apart life support systems, flooded decks with poison gas, anything to break their enemy's order. Within hours, the Council fleet was shattered. 1 carrier burned. Another had been captured. The third fled into hyperspace, its surviving escorts limping behind. Humanity's victory was complete. But the greater victory lay in the message. Across the galaxy, broadcasts of the Battle of Sithrax Prime spread like wildfire. The once mighty Council, thought invincible, had been defeated by the very species they had tried to erase. On worlds long enslaved, whispers became open defiance. Rebellions lit across the empire. Chains broke. Garrisons fell. Humanity had proven the giants could fall. In the war council after the battle, Elias studied the faces of his commanders, scarred veterans, freed slaves, exiles united under one banner. He saw the hunger in their eyes, the same fire that burned in him. "This is only the beginning," he told them. "We won't stop until their throne world burns. Until the council itself is ash." No one doubted him. The galaxy had awakened to a new truth. The council's age of dominion was ending. Humanity, vengeful, relentless, unbroken, was the hammer driving it down. And soon, the heart of the empire itself would feel the strike. The empire burns. The council's throne world hung in the void like a jewel wrapped in iron. A planet encased in defensive rings, fleets upon fleets guarding it, fortresses etched across its surface. For millennia, it had been untouchable, the seat of power for an empire that claimed eternal dominion. Now, the fleet of the fallen stood at its gates. Captain Elias Kane gazed at the looming defenses from the bridge of the Resolute, its scarred hull blazing with new markings, symbols of every world that had risen with humanity. Behind him stretched a fleet not of one species, but of many. Freed slaves, rebel soldiers, human survivors, all carried the same oath: vengeance. Council fleet formation detected, the tactical officer announced. "Hundreds of ships. They're not running this time." "They can't," Elias replied. His voice was calm, steel beneath fire. "If they lose here, their empire dies." "And if we lose?" asked his first officer quietly. Elias' gaze never left the throne world. "Then we've already won. Earth burned, and yet we stand here. That truth will outlive us." The battle began like a storm unleashed. Council warships surged forward in precise formations, a wall of firepower. Humanity's fleet met them with chaos, maneuvers that defied logic, strikes that exploited weaknesses no strategist expected. Drones collided with carriers, railgun slugs pierced through shields, and swarms of commandeered fighters spread terror in every direction. Elias led from the front. The Resolute tore through enemy lines, its guns hammering relentlessly. Around it, Allied fleets struck in waves, turning the disciplined Council armada into a scattering of burning wrecks. For every human ship that fell, 3 of the enemy burned. The throne world skies became a graveyard. When the planetary defenses finally cracked, Elias made his decision. "Deploy the ground strike teams," he ordered. Dropships rained fire onto the surface. The once proud halls of the Council Palace shook as human marines stormed through, weapons blazing, tearing down banners that had hung for thousands of years. In the central chamber, Elias himself faced the Council's high assembly, dozens of alien rulers, cloaked in arrogance even as their empire collapsed around them. "You destroyed Earth," Elias said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "You thought humanity would vanish. Instead, we became the fire that will consume you." The eldest counselor sneered. "You are animals. You spread chaos wherever you crawl. Even in victory, you will only destroy yourselves." Elias raised his rifle. The counselor's words ended in silence. One by one, the assembly fell. Their reign ended not by time, but by human hands. When the galaxy-wide broadcast lit up, every species watched the Council's throne burn. Elias stood before the camera, armor scarred, eyes burning with the reflection of flames. "The age of empires is over," he declared. "No throne will rule the stars again. You are free. And if any power dares to enslave you, remember what humanity did when our world was destroyed." The chamber shook as the palace collapsed, fire consuming its spires. Elias turned and walked away, leaving ashes where arrogance once stood. Earth was gone, but in its destruction, a new order had risen. Humanity had hunted the hunters, toppled the giants, and carved its name into the stars. The Council had destroyed Earth, and in doing so, they had created humanity's empire.